I watch the window filled with condensation as the rain pours harder outside. I can feel him watching, like he always does. Like he always will whenever the rain comes. But I've given up trying to hide. It's always useless. He's always been there, from my first memory of a downpour, stalking me, toying with my sanity. He makes me think he's going to hurt me, and then leaves me alone again. Those dark eyes, watching my every movement. I was first told of him long ago, when my dad used to tell the stories. Whenever it was raining and I was being tucked into my bed, he used to tell me that I should never look out the window if lightning struck, because if I did, the lightning man would get me. Of course, I knew the tales were fiction, and in those stories my father told, the entity was giant, as big as a city building, had no features, and was simply a dark shadow. I was never a kid to get scared of a tale told by a parent. That rule was always applied. Until one particular tale ended up to be real. When fiction turned into fact, it was at our old place. The little cottage down on Pertwee Lane. The old suburban home I used to love. I had been 5 at the time, and it was late afternoon. Watching the rain as I am now, I had been staring out at it, fascinated by the way it dropped and exploded in a watery-type bomb as it hit the pavement. I wanted to see what it felt like, what wonders I could discover by studying it up close. So I had rushed to my father's study, where he was working, and asked if it would be okay to go outside in the rain and play. It took some convincing, but the answer was eventually a yes, as long as I put on my gumboots and wore my rain jacket, and didn't spend too much time out there. I was also told not to wander too far away from the house. My parents didn't want me getting kidnapped. I did as I was told, and soon enough I was playing on the footpath just beyond the white picket fence that marked the edge of our property, splashing through the puddles, looking up and poking my tongue out to taste the rain, spinning in circles until I fell down, too dazed to comprehend direction. I was having the time of my life. But time fleets away, eating up everything in its path, and me and my happiness happened to be in the way. Getting back up off the pavement, the water now seeping through my raincoat into the orange t-shirt I wore, I felt a wave of happiness like nothing I could describe. Turning around, I had spotted another puddle a little ways down the road, just on the street corner that linked the 2 main streets of the town together. I remembered saying something along the lines of "woo-hoo," and had run off towards it. As I got closer to it, I saw that it was much bigger than the one in front of my house, and decided that this was the one I would be playing in from now on. I had gotten a run-up, and was about to jump into the puddle, sending up a thick splash of muddy water in every direction, when there was a sudden flash of lightning somewhere overhead. I looked up into the sky to try and find the source of where it had originated, but I eventually gave up, and my eyes trailed down to the road. Once more. That was when I saw him. He was standing maybe 100 meters down the road, drenched in shadow. At first I thought he was nothing but another pedestrian, walking through the rain to get wherever he had to go. But I was mistaken, and as he strode closer towards me, I could see that his head was fixed on me. I stopped splashing around and stood in the muddy water, looking at the man. He was still a good distance down the road, enough so that if he were to make any sudden movements, like break into a run, I could easily run back up to the pavement and get into my house before he even crossed through the street corner. But I kept staring, unable to place why my gaze was fixed on him. The figure took a step closer, and that was when the fear began to rise up inside me. The man was nothing but a silhouette, yet there was just something out of the ordinary about him. It was almost as if there was a little warning signal going off in my brain, knowing that this man was a threat. He stepped forward again. It seemed as though he was walking this way on purpose, taunting me, wanting my 5-year-old body to be frozen to the spot. Then, he spoke to me. It was a dark, bass tone of a voice, sounding almost as if it was two voices phased into one. A normal man's voice and the undertone of demonic-like speech.
Hey kid.
My voice was gone.
Hey kid, I'm talking to you.
I still gave no response. I heard a slight chuckle from the figure, and then he opened his mouth one more time. The words that he spoke made the hair stand up on the back of my neck, and the fear gripped my heart like a dying cancer.
Ever seen a dead man walking?
Breaking free of the shadows, the figure came into view. It was hard to tell exactly what he looked like from that far away, but I could at least see some facial features. The left side of his face was mangled. Burnt flesh stuck to the side of his head like hard strings of spaghetti, and bits of brain matter and skull were visible in the dim, but sure enough light. It reflected off the bone as he drew closer, and as I watched, his face, or what remained of it, morphed into a kind of sickening grin. The clothes he wore resembled that of a kind of dress code that a biker would stick to, although they were mostly blackened and stuck to the flesh. Leather, cotton, boots, it was all there. He looked like a charred skeleton, a giant figure, like something out of the Terminator or Halloween. It was then, and only then, that I regained my composure, turned from the puddle and bolted back up the length of the pavement, tripping over and badly grazing my right knee as I fell short of the picket fence. I took a glance behind me, and he was still there, trudging towards me like some kind of nightmare vision. I got back up, ran past the end of the fence and through the gate, slamming it shut behind me. I then ran up to the house, opened the door, and did the same. I fell, breathing hard and leaning against the oak door. Beads of blood had started to form where I had grazed my knee, but I ignored it. Leaning over to look out the front window, I saw that the figure was gone. I had told my parents about it, but they had just passed it off as some form of subconscious. They said I had too much of an active imagination. But I know the truth, for the Lightning Man has been following me ever since, and has come every time there has been a storm since that day. He will be there, standing in the shadows, looking up at my bedroom window, and I'll look back down at him, wishing him away. But he never goes. My wishes are kept forever unfulfilled. So here I am, staring out the window, waiting for him to come again. Waiting for the thunder, a split second of light, and then my nightmare. I watch, and I see the lightning, and then I look down. Standing below my window in the garden, looking back up at me as he always does. He's there. I can't see his face. He's shrouded in shadow, but I know he's grinning up at me, waiting for the chance when he can get to me. 10 long years he's been chasing me, 10 long years. Wherever I go, whatever I do, I hear a knock at the door and turn. My father walks in and sees me at the window. John, you've got to stop this. There's no such thing as the Lightning Man, and you know that. They were just stories I told you as a kid. Have you taken your meds today? The doctor has said you need to stick to the new schedule. He's out there right now, Dad. I look down at the monster who has stalked me my entire life and see he starts to laugh. My father comes over and looks out the window. As usual, he sees nothing. Come on, let's go downstairs. He grabs me by the hand and leads me away from the window. Another lightning strike goes off, and I let out a sigh of relief. The Lightning Man is gone for now. Outside, the storm starts to weaken, and the rain stops altogether. And a figure, looking as though he is fading from existence, stands in the garden, looking up at the child's window. The grin never leaves his face.